Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the House of Gouldians. So in this particular episode, we're going to be chatting with Javier from the British Gouldian Finch Club. You'll recall last week's episode, we saw some of the results from the Stafford show. That is the show that you will hear us talking about and referencing in this conversation. And Javier actually went on to win that show. So yeah, well done once again to Javier. And I think that's going to be quite an interesting sort of segment for you today, as there's a lot of interesting sort of tips and things that we discussed. Before we get there though, it is November. We're a little bit further into November than I would have liked in terms of our November checklist, but nonetheless, let's have a quick look at what we need to be concentrating on in November. So obviously cleanliness is always important in the bird room, but then we have the fact that the birds are still in their maintenance diet in the southern hemisphere. So you'll notice on this particular cage behind me, the seed is still a mixture. It's not limited that it would be in the austerity period. And we are still giving soft food once a week, but not daily like you would have it in the breeding season, or twice a week like we would do when the birds are in the molt. So now that they're coming to the end of the molt, or they've finished the molt, we've dropped them down to once a week. And basically it's a rest period for them. They're just sort of enjoying life. They're not worrying about breeding and all that kind of thing. As a result, with the exception of one or two pairs, I've gone and put them in single sex flights. And the idea behind that is twofold. One, it reduces the level of stress in the room because you don't have cockbirds trying to chase the hens and get them to breed. And then the other side of it is that it also allows them, because they're in double the normal size cages, it gives them that much more room to exercise and sort of build their sort of muscles and that kind of thing ahead of the breeding season. So yeah, generally speaking, they're in single sex flights, which is on the opposite side of the room, the side you normally see. But yeah, it's that's what we're doing at this time of year. And then the last thing, as you can see here, we've gone and put the chicks into, or some of our youngsters into a training cage, and the idea there is that we have our breeders run show this time of year, and as a result we like to prepare the birds for the show. So we'll be doing a whole episode on preparing birds for the show bench, but at this stage, part of our sort of show team would be separated off into training cages, and we'd be utilizing various techniques to prepare them for the show. So that's the sort of to-do list, if you like, or checklist for this month. Let's have a look at the breeder feature. For today's breeder feature, I thought we would chat to Javier from the British Gouldian Finch Club. Javier lives in Scotland and he's been involved with the British Club since it started about a year ago. He is a particularly interesting individual to chat to, as he has been involved with birds his whole life, including the breeding programs with falcons and eagles and that kind of thing, so not just your domesticated birds. And he's also been involved in some of the projects that have been going on of late with regards to the Gouldian, like, for example, the World Online Show that took place fairly recently. So, yes, let's have a chat to Javier. Hello, Javier.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, how are you? Glad, very good.
Thanks. Can you hear me nice and clearly?
Yeah, perfect.
You're at the beginning of your breeding season, if I'm not mistaken, or not yet. Do you show first?
I will start breeding in 2-3 weeks. I've been in Italy in August, in Spain this month, so I need to check so many things, and I need to give time for the bird, and then I will do it maybe in 2-3 weeks. I am not in a rush, because I not breed more than 60, 50, something like that. But I don't like to breed too much. I only make a very selected pair, and then I breeding with them. But my point is not breed like a 200 or 300 bird. I am not like that. Also because my bird room is not that big, so I usually only breed what I exactly want, and all the pair that I make up for breeding season are very selected. So usually, more or less, I can keep my level in this way.
Okay. Yeah, I must be honest, I work the same way. only have a certain size bird room, and I have limited sort of flight space for juveniles and that. So I don't breed for pet shops or something like that. I breed for the show bench and for what I need. I've never been one to sort of breed big numbers and that kind of thing.
Also, it's very important to know that there's never equality is going by the hand with the number. So, for example, no, when you go to buy some bird for another breeder, and you, for example, buy one bird for a few birds from the bird room that is very not big or not small, like a normal one, which, for example, the breeder is breeding every year 60, 70, 80, you more or less, you know what you have in what genetic are you in that moment taking from that breeder.
100%. In a small bird room, the guys know, okay, that's the parents of this bird, that's the parents of that, because it's far more controlled. So for me, I'm a firm believer in exactly what you're saying. It's not about the numbers. It's about, if you want quality, you need to be very much in control over what you're doing and that kind of thing.
I like to visit a lot of bird breeder. Here in UK, in Spain, in Italy, in different countries. To be honest, by this experience, also because the reason that I just say, for example, if you visit Filippo or another brother like Marcos in Spain, so they don't have a very large bedroom. They don't have it. But what's happened? They are very focused in something. So what's happened? 50 birds from that bedroom is like it's gold, because it's everything is equality. So sometimes you need to know where you can go.
How did you get into Gouldians? How did the passion start?
I've been with bird all my life, with animal as well. But when I was 3 years old, I asked my mother for Christmas one falcon.
Okay.
And she was too surprised because what a small boy won the falcon. And she gave me two zebra finch from Australia. And from that moment, I always been with bird. Like I started with my first Gouldian when I was 7 years old. So after that, I breed canary, I breed also falcon, eagle. I've been working for a falcon company in Qatar, in Seville, in different places. Also falcon center. So all my life, also when I was traveling around the world, I studied different birds in Uruguay, in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, always keeping close to the bird. And when I arrived in Scotland, I have more time. I have a room ready for the birds, so I decide to go back with the Gouldian, start again.
Sure. So you have been involved with the birds for a long time, and the falcons and eagles, that's a very different side of the bird hobby or game as such. Sure. Very interesting. And in terms of sort of mutations and other sort of projects, is there anything in particular you're working on at the moment?
I also relate what I say before. I am very focused in only classic Gouldian, like for example, in this case, orange and black. Why? Because my room is not that big, and also when you are working in so many different mutations, you need to have a big room, and also you will get there slowly. I am all the pair that I have is just black and orange, and I am focused on that. For my opinion, I have a better quality in this way.
Okay, awesome. So you very much around the wild type Gouldian, if you like, in terms of the colors.
Yeah, more or less is what the people say, wild type. I always say classic. I think a wild type is in Australia, but also when you read a lot about the story about Gouldian and all that kind of thing, I think that there's so many different things. I think it's not any wild type only in Australia, by my opinion, but yes, only classic.
Okay, no, that's awesome. Okay. And then, so that's actually an interesting one because we found it particularly difficult to get a pure line of classic because of all the mutations that have come in over the years. So white breast and lilac and all of that. Do you find every now and then you're getting mutations popping out here and there, or do you find that you've managed to establish a fairly pure line in terms of that?
When you breed classic, I mean, it's very difficult that find only pure classic line. That is up to you. For example, now I've been working 4 or 5 years only classic. So that is make my line stronger and stronger. But yeah, it's very difficult because even more when you don't know nothing about the breeding history, or that's genetic. But to find a very pure wild or classic type, I think the only way that you can do that is in Australia. No another way.
Okay, no, fair enough. No, just an interesting one that because I know it's something that we've really battled with ourselves. You know, the thinking is to always, if you are going to breed mutations, is to try and breed them back to that classic or wild type to improve the strength of the bird because some of the mutations have been inbred too much, so they're weaker birds. And quite honestly, now because the classic bird has so many underlying, to try and now breed a pure line, you actually end up inbreeding it. So, are you really achieving the goal? Is sort of where we found ourselves in South Africa. So that's why I was curious as to sort of are you still able to actually get pure birds over there? So yeah, interesting. Tell us, you in terms of the obviously the British climate's very different from South Africa. It's a lot warmer here. Are you guys pretty much all indoor breeders in your club, or do you find that there are some guys that have outside aviaries for summer, or what's the scenario?
Very difficult in UK to have an outdoor bedroom. All the people what we have is, for example, I have the bird inside my home in one room. So in this way, I keep all the year the same temperature, the same humidity, all the year is the same. No is the best for the bird, but that is what I have, and my bird are ready for that. They don't have any problem with the mold. They don't have any problem with the breeding, nothing like that. All the year is the same. In this way, I keep so many sickness and bacteria and virus and everything out because everything is all the same. But uh, a lot of members in the club only have like a in the garden like a shed where it's like isolate with wood and another material, and they keep the bird like that. Sometimes they need to use some heater or something like that, but the only way. It's the only way. I mean, also we need to know that Gouldian are very hard, so they can be with 10 degrees, with 5 degrees, and don't have any issue. The more important thing in this case is the breeder always is the key. He needs to know what is his condition. For example, I use seed, I use different supplement, okay, but that is for my condition. So what's happening? If your bird room is in 5 degrees, you need to find the best way to drive your bird room. For example, maybe you need more fat in your seed, maybe you need another more protein, something like that. So I think that is the more important thing. I can be success in this condition, but also I can be success in another condition, but no using the same food, the same supplement, the same thing that you. So sometimes the people copy what they are not what others do, but they don't see what the condition. The bird sometimes need more fat, more protein, but my bird, for example, don't need nothing of the fat, zero. Why? Because they don't have anything to do all the year. They don't have any cold. They don't have any change temperature, any change humidity, nothing.
Now, it makes a lot of sense because otherwise, if you're giving fat and the temperatures are warm, you're going to end up with obesity issues and other problems because it's not needed. Now, it makes a lot of sense there. Okay. But in terms of the breeding cycle, how are you controlling that then with your lighting or sort of how does that happen?
Also, again, back to the breeder. What's happened? What the bird, that what the Gouldian need to breed. Need protein and another nutrient everything to breeding. What's happened when I want to breed? The only thing I do is put up the protein percent. So, for example, for molting and for rest season, I go slowly with the protein. But when I want to breed, what I do, I use more egg food, and also I put more protein. And also I put like, for example, fresh meal, and green seed, soak seed, all that thing that make the Gouldian good condition for breeding.
Okay, so you're bringing them in with diet more than anything else. You're bringing them into condition. Okay,
exactly. I always, for example, all the year I use the same seed. For example, I use 70% or 65% Canary 6 plain, white mile, and also Japanese mile. But only that. But when I want to make them rest, I keep using the same seed. But for example, I use only 1 time per week or 2 times per week only egg food. When I want to breed, I use maybe every day. I make them ready for breeding. Yes. So for example, when they are molting or when they are in the rest season, I don't give the chance to them for breeding. They will not breed because they don't have the right nutrient, protein, another thing like they need.
Okay, and then do you sort of separate pairs then as well? So outside of breeding season, are you keeping your cocks and hens separate?
To sort of also all the year, but they see each other. I have one fly of hen, another one fly of cock. Yes. And they become more hot and more ready when they will see the opportunity.
Okay, all right. So that's how you sort of controlling your breeding season. Very interesting. Very interesting. I knew that there would be quite big differences because of the climate with the British sort of way of doing it to us, but that's actually fascinating. That it's a vastly different way of doing it. That's very interesting. And tell me, I know in a lot of parts of the world, the guys are having to do a lot of fostering. And the reason being, obviously, maybe their birds were under society finches and have kind of lost that instinct. How do you find it in the UK? Is it the same sort of scenario, or are they fairly good parents in your part of the world?
Here, the UK Gouldian line is very good to breed with no Bengalis, with nothing, only by themselves. Okay. But what's happened? By my opinion, after breeding falcon, eagle, and another kind of bird, I think that the Bengalis don't have anything bad to do with the Gouldian. For example, you can use Bengalis and your Gouldian will be the same or maybe very good to breeding by themselves alone with no problem. But what is the difference when you breed with Gouldian only and when you use Bengalis? When you use Bengalis, you don't have the opportunity to select the good parent. That is the big difference. The Bengalis alone, they don't change any mentality, they don't change any behavior or nothing like that in the Gouldian. The only thing that the Bengalis is no good for the future is that you don't know what parents are good or not. So the natural selection is not working in that way. But so many people say, no, the Bengalis are very bad because they say the chick change the mentality. Now they don't want to breed. Nothing. I did that experiment a lot of time. Gouldian that was breeding with Bengalis was very good for breeding alone. But when you do that for a long time, when you breed with Bengalis only, you lost the natural selection with the parent. For example, if I have one good parent, they will breed more than another one. But with Bengalis, you breed all the same. So that is the point. For example, so many people think that the Gouldian breeding from Bengalis are very bad. They will not breed alone. No, that is not true. The only thing is that the breeder don't give the opportunity or don't have the knowledge to know, oh, this chick will be it's coming from the very good parent or maybe no. So sometimes you are breeding bad behavior or breeding behavior that you don't know with Bengalis.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It's an interesting sort of viewpoint on it, because I think exactly that the guys, they have heard that it's not a good thing, but they don't necessarily realize that, well, what's the link, what's happening. And what you're saying makes a lot of sense, is that it's more a case of you then don't know which parents, at least which chicks coming from that sort of well-established line of good parents. So you're losing that by chance, not necessarily because of the Bengalese as such. That makes a lot of sense.
Because Clyde, the character,
Yes.
the behavior, everything, they coming from the genetic. So I mean, they get from the parent. So no, it's nothing about the Bengali they are feeding or nothing like that, because for the bird, they are like a bird, it's different. It's different when you imprint the animal. For example, if I take the Czech or the Gouldian and then I feed in there, they will not see themselves like a bird, like an animal. That happened, for example, when I was breeding falcon. So many times we was doing artificial breeding. For example, I was taking the semen with five or six male, and then use that semen for 20 female. Because what? I imprint the female with me. So she was thinking that she was the same animal than me. But when we use another kind, like the same type of animal, bird with bird, they don't change any mentality. They are like a Gouldian, like a natural Gouldian that have a normal parent. That is the point. They don't know that is the Bengalis. They don't know like, oh, this one is Bengali. No, they know that it's the mother and the father.
So what I do in mine, I use, if I know that it's a pair that is particularly important to me from a genetics perspective, maybe it's a particularly nice quality bird or something like that, and it's the first time they're breeding, or they tried once before and they weren't successful, then what I'll do is I'll swap their clutch with a pair that has perhaps already bred successfully. So I've already got some of their chicks. And then I just swap them, let the experienced pair raise the ones that I'm needing, and then I let the pair that maybe is still learning raise the ones I've already had, if you like, from a genetics perspective. So that's how I've been doing it. So I foster Gouldian to Gouldian, and I swap eggs. So everyone gets a chance to try a raise. And then if they get better at it and they learn from their mistakes, then the next time I don't have to take eggs away. And I've got a pair like that at the moment. The first two tries, they didn't come right. The second clutch, I had swapped eggs. The third clutch, it was by chance that I was going to take the nest box out and they'd already laid eggs. So I thought, let them just sit on those eggs and then I'll pull the box. And they raised them, and they've got the chicks on the perch now. So they've sort of learned from their mistakes, and it's worked well. So
I think that is very important, because also, like you say, the patients need to be, the breeder need to be with very good patient. But what's happened in Spain or in another country like Italy, when they breed like a choke type or very weird mutation or something like that, they need to breed 100% sure. So for example, they use Bengali a lot of time because they need to be successful yes with the very weird mutation like we have now, Brunos, Lutino, the white color, different colors, so many different colors, like a turquoise or like a Verdemar or green sea, what they say. But for me, I respect a lot the people that use only Gouldian, and also because it's very hard work. It's very also with Bengalis, because with Bengalis, sometimes we complicate our life a lot, because Bengalis maybe carry on a lot of sickness, or maybe are very difficult to use. So sometimes in this way, if the breeder don't know what is in his hand, can be very bad. So for me, I think the best way is usually always breed with Gouldian, only with Gouldian, but not all the breeders are ready for that. because they need to have a patent, they need to have a maybe when you have a very high quality Gouldian, maybe you spend 1,000, 2,000 euros, something like that. Maybe you need to breed with that. So sometimes you need to use Bengalis.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. So the British Club, I believe it started about 11, 12 months ago, roughly now. Is that right? It's about a year old, eh? And it's from what I'm picking up off social media and that you guys are growing really, really nicely. So sort of what does the club offer? Let's put it that way.
At the moment, the club is with 80 members, something like that. It's one of the bigger club in UK, and only is the only club for only Gouldian in UK. But for example, we offer a WhatsApp group where all the members are together sharing the knowledge, the problem, the issues. They can buy or sell bird there. Also, for example, in 2 weeks, we will make the first Gouldian show in UK, in Stafford, in the national show. But what is the more difficult thing here in UK? Here in UK, the people or the breeder, they don't know too much about the show type. For example, we can see that Italy, Portugal, Spain, United States, Chile, Thailand, Turkey, Pakistan, Iraq, Bahrain, Oman, so many different countries are working in the show type. They are import, export bird. They are working on that. But here in UK, it's very close to Europe. I mean, we are very close compared with another country, but they don't have any idea about the show type. So it's very hard because, for example, if you think like, for example, Canary, Gloucester, or Zebra Finch, they are number one. They have a very good show type, but with the Gouldian, it's like a 300 years ago. They only have a wild type. Wild type, for me, like I say, it's only in Australia. But for example, here in UK, by my opinion, wild type is a bird with nothing, with nobody work. For example, when you see a bird in Italy or in Spain, they've been working in the site, color, max, different line, so many years. So it's almost very good bird. So here we are slowly introducing the show type in UK, but it's very hard because they want what they have it. They follow what they have it. But slowly we have a more breeder and more breeder that this breeding show type Gouldian that not need to be from Spain, can be from Italy, can be from Netherlands, can be from Portugal, so for so many different countries. But more or less all around the world is one show type with different thing, more or less one big, small, but more or less it's one show type. And here in UK is nothing. We have our standard. We make the standard few months ago, where it's free for all the people in our website, in the British Gouldian Finch Club. Also, that is, I think, it's a very big and very hard work that will take a few years because people also in the club, we respect all the type, wild type, mutation, classic, or something like that. But it's very clear for the club that we follow one standard, and also we are show type club.
So your members, because obviously now you've introduced that standard, are they sort of trying to get mostly birds from Europe, so they're already sort of down that road, or are they taking the approach of let's work with what we've got and improve over time, or sort of what have you found the reaction to that standard?
UK has been introducing birds from another country all the life, all the life. But what's happened? They don't know how to work Gouldian. They don't know how to improve. That happened a lot in so many different countries. For example, when you buy 10 birds from one breeder, if you don't know how to work, you don't know how to follow one standard, you will lose everything. Even more if you mix that genetic with another genetic. So that happened here a lot. They don't need to, they import a lot of birds from so many different countries, but the only way that they need to improve is how to work with that genetic. For example, in our first show, we will make the bigger show, the Gouldian show in UK ever, with 65 Gouldian. It's not that big, but it's the bigger one. So now more or less you can know how the Gouldian situation is. From now it's getting more breeder and more breeder, but you need to know how, for example, are the condition or traditional thing here with the show. For example, the people bring their cage from home. It's only 1 day show, so it's not like another country that you can make 1,000 Gouldian, because they have like a 1 week the bird there, you know. So it's not easy.
So in that regard, we similar in that our shows are also sort of 1 day shows. Typically, you do get some of the canary shows that are 2 or 3 days, but as a rule, it's generally a single day. And then also our breeders need to have their own show cages. So yeah, it's, you know, you're limited by the number of boxes and that. So typically for us, a show would be a decent show would be at about minimum 40 birds, and then the specialist clubs like ourselves, we would go up to probably 150, 200 birds, somewhere in that kind of order would be a big show. So like yourself, we're not going to hit the thousands because we just don't have that sort of following in terms of the Gouldians at this stage anyway. Who knows what the future holds, but that's where we're at this stage. So interesting.
Exactly. Also, we will provide this year the single cage that only will be for 1 or 2 years, because it's very expensive to bring from overseas. But in this case, like for example, no, if in Spain or Portugal or Italy, they can show 100 bird, one breeder, but can you imagine one breeder in your country or here in UK with 100 cage in his car? It's impossible. So for example, this year also we will have an international judge. Will be Robert Jurado. He's a judge with Spain, Brazil, Italy, France, so many different countries that he'd been judging. But the more important thing is educate breeder, share the knowledge, and try to make a big grab around the show type.
No, 100%. And that makes sense because you're trying to grow the awareness at this stage. So that's what this show is going to be about for you. Okay. And tell me, your club, the British Gouldian Finch Club, is that open to international members or only people who live in the UK? What is the scenario there?
It's open for all the members. International, we have a member for all different parts: Russia, Bahrain, Oman, Iraq, Pakistan, Spain, South America. So it's open for all the people, but of course the UK member will have a show, will have a different thing that we can do international.
Just out of interest, I don't know who designed your club's shirts, but I think they're awesome. Those ones with the printing on there, all the different sort of well-known landmarks at the bottom of the shirt for Britain, and that it's just really, really well designed. So
thank you so much. We have a few members that are very helpful with the club. For example, Patrick from Netherlands. He's a very good designer, and he do a lot of things for the club, and also the logo, everything. And Abhidish from Thailand, he make also a lot of things for the club, for example, the t-shirt and everything. So usually people are ready to help, and that is the more, for example, Hamed Al-Galawi from Bahrain, he helped the club a lot, and also me personally. So when you make contact, international contact, like Hamed, for example, in Bahrain, that help you a lot, because when you need something or when they need something, always is the connection, always is something to find there.
And do you sort of have regular meetings for your guys, or how does that sort of work?
We are in contact with WhatsApp, but now, for example, with the show in 2 weeks, we have a meeting every 4 or 5 days, because it's a lot of things to organize, like entry, bird classification, so many things. And then it's our first year, so in that moment you need to learn a lot of things. But it will be easy, more or less, because we will have a 60 or 65 bird, so we will manage, and we have a very good price. We have a very good, I think it will be a very good day to enjoy together.
No, awesome. And then last thing is sort of how do guys get in touch with you if they're wanting to join you? So is there an email address that the guys should be using, or WhatsApp number, or how do the guys go about it?
Can be by Facebook, by WhatsApp, by email, or also by website. The website have a one window that is like join us, and they can do, and then we receive straight away the email. So it's not difficult. It's not difficult. Also, like we say, we have so many different ways: WhatsApp, Facebook, email.
Okay, no, fantastic. I will pop up the different links for the guys if they're interested in joining you. But yeah, all the best for your show. And yeah, it's been fascinating chatting to you. I think just hearing the different ways you guys go about it in terms of your bird rooms and that, because of the weather and that kind of thing, it's really, really interesting just hearing those differences. So yeah, thank you very much for your time and all the best.
Thank you, Clyde, also for your time and also for your help, for promote the club, for helping us all the time when you have the opportunity. Also, you always be there to help, to promote, for example, the world show, the online world show that we did with Hamed, what the promoter. So I am very appreciative your help, your time. I think the people like you is very important for the Gouldian, because what we need is promote the Gouldian, what we need is share knowledge, and people like you, like Hamed, like Patrick, like another people are very helpful, and not so many people like you guys. So I can only say thank you, and I am very grateful for all the things that you do for the club.
Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day, and thank you for the opportunity.